Respectable Chairman of the Universal Peace Federation, Dr. Chuck Sing Young, President Dr. Thomas Walsh, Your Highness, Excellencies, Eminences, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to be guest at this summit once again, especially because of following last year's participation in this summit, I went through a sort of calvary, exactly because of staying consistent to myself and standpoints that I presented in my speech before some of you who were here last year as well. In nowadays world, and trust me, especially in Bosnia and Herzegovina, it is not desirable to profitable to have your own opinion and following the path of truth and freedom. But I have to thank to the Lord who gave me the strength to get through it all and eventually win, because without God's will, I certainly wouldn't not be able to do so. My life experience, complemented by insights gained during the attempt cup when I was arrested, convinced me that the basis of all the events and relationship is actually the relation between people. So I will try to give you, with my speech, a modest contribution to your work with my reflection on human rights. It is difficult, almost impossible for me, as a person from Bosnia and Herzegovina, a politician and official, to think and talk about human relations without looking back on the war in Bosnia and Herzegovina and everything that was brought to us, but also taken from us by that same war. The Bosnian writer and Nobel Prize winner Ivo Andrić wrote the following: "A war, even the longest one, only shakes questions which cased it, while their solution is left to the times that occur after the achievement of peace." When I first read this thought, and that was before I had participated in the war and lived through almost 20 years of post-war activities, I didn't believe that deep thought. However, in fact, since the end of the war to date, some 20 years after, the reason for the war are being called into questions. Neither culprits nor the cases of the war are known, while solutions on how to continue with living are still being sought. Interpersonal relationships are being arranged like Lego bricks in the hands of a 2-year-old child, almost always in a clumsy and illogical way, too slow, often reluctantly, or in a temperamental and very insecure way. We hold on the time, waiting for the child to grow up and for the bricks to finally come together smoothly and logically. In the meantime, we continue to live in the stormy time of peace, fearing for this child does not lose patience and scatter the bricks. The war is behind us. It is supposed to be that way. But human relations are still not like they should haven't be in a settled state. The rights of many are not being respected, or more precisely, a significant number of people do not even formally exercise these basic human rights. Bosnia and Herzegovina is a country of 3 constituent, but not equal peoples. It is also the state of those who do not declare themselves as a member of the constituent people. And these people are in effect deprived of many rights, of which the biggest problem is the inability of candidates for the presidency of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Even the members of the constituent peoples, in relation to their place of residence, do not have a right to choose or to be elected as a member of a presidency of Bosnia and Herzegovina. The painful truth is that each of Bosnian and Herzegovina peoples is still threatened in the area where is a minority, while some of them are injured on the whole territory. Such is the state of political relations, and when we talk about social status, almost 50% of the populations living in poverty and threatened. Due to the employment rate of 47% in Bosnia and Herzegovina. The corruption is guilty for that. Such a situation, of course, results in a frustration of individuals and communities, as well as wide broken relationship even the 20 years after the war. Unfortunately, Bosnia and Herzegovina is no exception. Relationships between people are disturbed in many more developed countries, whether the main cases of frustration are not exercising their rights, like in the case of Bosnia and Herzegovina, or simply the alienation of a person from another person, which is the biggest illness of the Western society in the end of 20th and especially in the 21st century. Its common include hotspots in the analysis of global political and security situation on this planet. These actually used to be the spots, while today the areas affected with open war or with a state of neither peace nor war are growing that much so that they cannot be even figuratively called spots anymore. In addition, conflicts, whether they are in the heart of Europe or through Africa and the Middle East, became complex to the extent that it is difficult to understand and discern who the parties in the conflicts are, why indeed they are fighting, and who stands behind whom, and also what are the purpose of actual creators of all these conflicts or wars. And while no one even mentioned the Arab Springs anymore, what an irony in the suggestive name of the war happenings. How spring can be the state of society in which people die and the lives of innocent children and other powerless are being lost. Since in reality everything that happened in those countries appears more like depressing autumn. Crime issue is hardly anymore mentioned due to the east of Ukraine, whereas on the soil of Iraq and Syria we have the beginning of a new war, more complex conflict which is, if connected in some way with what is happening in Gaza Strip, could surpass in the consequences all previous conflicts after the World War II. Are not all these events result of human relations in which the creators of such horrors believe that some people are not worth the same or even more than them? They assume that right to decide who out of this list valuable deserve to live and for how long. In this age of hypocrisy, of the obsession with oneself and the satisfaction of personal needs, as well as in the time of general retreat of good to evil, only one world leader is really consistent in the fight for common peace on the planet and makes extraordinary efforts to assist those directly threatened in the areas affected by war in order to stop further escalation of these horrors. We are witnessing Pope Francis prays for peace continually, prays for help to everyone in need, and calls upon the world leaders to make concrete steps to stop active conflicts and prevent the emergence of new ones. It is difficult, however, to escape the impression that the reaction to these noble attempts are just new horrors and new suffering happening at the hand of those who hold all the strings of the world power in their hands. After joint prayers of leaders for ending all conflicts and achieving true peace in the Middle East, there has been a new explosion of horrific destruction and merciless killing. Do you think that this is a coincidence? Absolutely not. Creators of all of these conflicts, who are often hiding behind the mission of peacemakers, should know that soon they will be powerless to control development of the situation as well. The best example of this is ISIL, created in Syria in order to otherward Assad regime, openly armed by the international community, supported directly by the United States of America and most European countries, including Turkey. ISIL has become the last threat to Assad, but almost certainly to the overall world peace, including its mentors. ISIL will now you need Iran and Iraq strengthen Assad's position, and through him will help Hezbollah as well. On the other hand, Iraq will not see peace for a long time if it survives as a unified state at all, while the chickens and will drawn by, unfortunately, people of Palestine and the people frantically leaving Syria, Iraq, and the other war-affected areas, seeking salvation in Europe or other parts of our planet. It is difficult to understand what is happening and what the actual cases of this war is. In two neighboring countries, ISIL's role is perceived differently and position in relation to it are taken accordingly. This is a mistake that could some outgrow regional frameworks and go totally out of control. It is reality high time for world leaders to join Holy Father Pope in prayers and effort to stop this suffrage. Otherwise, may God help us all. From everything stateable, we can see that mankind is going in the wrong direction, building happiness on other pain, taking, robbing, not helping to needy, not repenting, destroying everything in its way, and in the same time presenting itself as a benefactor and peacemaker, and just goes on. Where to? For how long? What awaits us to the end of such a journey? I'm personally encouraged with the fact which stems from my deep religious beliefs, and that is that good always triumph over evil, and if it wasn't for the faith in a God and fundamental justice, I would have lost all hope in us, in mankind. Either way, perhaps slowly, perhaps clumsily, as in the hands of child, bricks of human rights will be arranged not only in my Bosnia and Herzegovina, and we will finally get to see much more nicer times. If not we personally, then our children or our children's children, better times are ahead of us. I'm sure. Prayer has saved my life, said Mahatma Gandhi. And after what I have survived, I believe him. And you should believe to that the prayer will save us all. Nevertheless, I would like to supplement this thought of the great man. It is a fallacy to believe that only prayer is enough. Every person has been given gifts by God, and in accordance with the assigned gifts, along with prayer, we must act as well. Ladies and gentlemen, do we dare to keep quiet and do nothing, knowing how many tears go down daily innocent children's cheeks? I invite you, let's stand up and condemn the hypocrisy, injustice, and evil, regardless of who stands behind them. Only by acting, so we are truly free people. And how much freedom is precise, I will remind you with words Croatian writer Ivan Gundulic, which I also mentioned in my last year speaking. O beautiful, O dear, O sweet freedom. I will finish my speech with very noble words said by great fighter for justice and freedom, Dr. Martin Luther King. I have a dream. In order to ask you, do we have a dream? Dream about one nation under the God. God bless you.